How do you listen for God's voice? That's a hard question to answer, but I'll try to give you some of my reflections on the yoga mat today, so welcome. Welcome to sit down. Welcome to close your eyes. My name is Rie, and I'll the host and will guide you through this class today. You can leave your hands on your knees, straighten your spine, and close your eyes. Last week I did a class on prayer. And this week I'll try to tune in on listening, because prayer is communicating to God and listening is listening to the communication from God. So first we tune into our breath. Notice where your body is right now. Relax your shoulders and your face as you breathe. If you find it hard to breathe calmly, just relax. Don't force yourself to deep breath if it does not come natural. And I'll open our time with a prayer. God, help us to listen. Help us to tune in. Amen. We'll begin with seated cat-cow. So maybe your hands reach around your knees. Hold on your knees as you move your spine back. Tuck your chin towards your chest. Shoulders to the front. And then move your chest more to the front and maybe a little bit up, looking up towards the sky or heaven even. And move back. Use your breath. So you exhale as you move back. Inhale as you move your hip further forward, lift your chest. Still close your eyes and keep moving. Try to move as slow as you can. Of course, without becoming dizzy or feeling uncomfortable. I'm guiding this class and this theme with a lot of humility, because I don't feel like I have all the answers on how to listen to God. I feel like God has spoken to me a number of times through my life, but I'm definitely no expert. And I actually don't think anybody is, but I'll still give you a little bit of something to reflect or chew on. Next time you're in a straight spine, move away from that and find tabletop. You can take your mat and double it underneath your knees if you like. Spread your fingers out and make sure your fingers or your wrists are placed underneath your arms. Raise up your right hand towards the sky so you twist, opening up your shoulder. Make sure you take your shoulder a little bit further down so it's not lifted or elevated towards your ear. And then we move with our breath, threading the needles. So you take your nails here and draw them towards the mat and then out underneath the armpit. Shoulder moves towards the mat. And from here, lifting up again, using your core. Shoulder up and a little bit down. And then move slowly, maybe with your breath, maybe not. You bent the opposite elbow to allow your right hand to move down towards the floor. So listening for God's voice, sometimes we hear that it's about being quiet. And actually the definition of yoga is to quiet the fluctuations of the mind, or quiet, some would say, the monkey brain of the mind. So this makes a lot of sense, moving here on the mat, because it helps us to leave our agenda, leave our to-do lists a little bit on the side here. Both hands on the mat, and let's move to the other side. Maybe you inhale as you lift up the left hand. Exhaling again, bend the knee. Reach down, you don't have to reach the floor with the shoulder. Listening for God's voice is, of course, about tuning in. But it's not, I believe, our effort to be quiet or our ability to quiet our minds or be good at meditation that makes God speak more. I don't think so. Some of us, God speaks through different channels. Maybe it's actually when we are noisy places that God is speaking the most, maybe. Last time through. And then move your spine, maybe some figure eights with your spine, whatever feels good. Also for your shoulders, maybe roll your shoulders like a cat or another kind of animal here. And then sit a little bit back. Maybe you can sit on your heels, you don't have to, but let's stretch those arms a little bit. Let your fingers here reach towards your knees. Let the palm reach down, knuckles on the mat. Bend your elbows a tiny bit in towards yourself and stretch your lower arm. Don't hyperextend your elbows here. Awesome, let go. Unfold your mat if you're still on this fold. Downward facing dog. So spreading out your fingers, let the knees off the mat. Hip width distance in between the feet, and then paddle your feet. Slowly, one at a time. Let your chest hang somewhat in between your arms. Soften your elbows a little bit. And then we'll do a small sequence before we calm our postures a little bit more, or take more breath in each posture. Move into plank. You'll not be staying here for long, so don't worry. Come down on your knees. Move yourself back almost like in child's pose. I still have my toes tucked. Maybe you have your toenails on the mat. That's up to you. Move your hands a little bit closer towards your knee. Navel in as you rise up on your knees. Take your arms out to the side. Shoulder blades back and together. Palms meet. Now this is important. Navel in as you lean forward, like twisting here or turning forward, flexing from the hip, hands down on the mat. Roll yourself to the front so that you're doing an up dog when you're ready. Knees on the mat. Maybe you bend your elbows. If it's too much, you can always come down a little bit lower. Tuck your toes under, navel in. Downward dog. Adjust your stance. Let's try that one more time. Come to your plank. Knees on the mat. Maybe toenails or tucking the toes onto whatever works the best. Move yourself back. Stretch your back. From here, use your core. Come up on your knees. Arms out to the side. And up towards the sky. Palms meet. Navel in as you move your hip back. Hands meet the mat here somewhere at the front. Lean forward. Hip on the mat. Move up, cobra or up dog. Tuck the toes under. And downward facing dog. We'll do this 2 more times. If it becomes too much, just stop in one posture that you like and stay there. Inhale, plank. Exhale on your knees, move yourself back. Inhale, rise up on your knees, arms out to the side and up. Palms meet, forward. Hands on the mat. Inhale as you move to the front. Inhale as you lift your chest, up dog or cobra. And exhale, downward facing dog. Take a breath. This should create some heat in your body. Inhale, plank last time through. Exhale, down on your knees. Child's pose almost. Inhale on your knees, arms up. Exhale, lean forward. Inhale as you move your chest more to the front. Inhale, lifting up, cobra up dog. And then downward facing dog, exhale. Child's pose. Distance in between your knees. Move your hip back towards your heels and forehead on the ground. Try to relax as much as possible. Sometimes we can't hear God's voice because we're tuned in on another channel. Or there is so much other noise that we somehow choose to listen to. It can be the noise of approval from others, the voice of wanting to be seen or having the right career. Are you tuned in to another channel than God's channel? Something that's more important? To be honest, I think most of us are. So maybe say, God, help me to tune in to your channel and let that voice be the loudest, not all the other stuff. Find down dog and yet again. Let the heels lower down towards the mat for however long down they can reach. That might not be the whole way. Lift your right leg up towards the sky. Bend the knee, tuck it underneath the navel and step it to the top of the mat. High lunge or crescent lunge. Make sure you have that hip width distance in between your feet. Knee and ankle stacked above each other on the front foot. And then maybe you rise up, letting go of the floor. Shoulders down. And maybe rotate a little bit out so that you feel this engagement here behind your shoulder blades. If this is too hard, you're always welcome to come down on the knee so that you will be staying here in low lunge instead. Now let your right hand reach for your left wrist. Pull on your left arm so that you go into a side stretch over to your right side. It's quite important that your spine is not leaned back, but your spine is straight and then moving to the side. Again, you can stay down on the knee, on your left knee if you want. Let go. Frame the foot and move this back foot just a little bit closer. Lean back towards the back heel. Bend left knee and stretch right leg so you get a stretch in your hamstring on your right side. If you can't reach the floor, maybe have blocks that will help you move the floor closer to your hands. Your forehead reach further down towards the front leg. And walk your hands to the front of the mat. Step the feet to meet each other. Still hip width apart. Vertebrae by vertebrae. Mountain pose. Find your breath again. And just listening into our bodies, listening into our breath, I believe is also a way that God speaks. Seldomly God speaks through thunder and writings on the wall. He rather chooses to use our chemistry and our body because that's more natural. That's how He created us. This is the more natural channel. So sometimes listening to our bodies is listening to God's voice. Open up your eyes again. Put the weight of your body on your right leg. Dancer's pose. You turn your hand here so that your pinky finger reaches towards the front. And then grab for the arch of the foot on your left side. Make sure your knee is not out to the side, but somewhat aligned with this front knee. And then you lean forward, kicking your foot into your hand. Rounding your back. Maybe you stay just a little bit. Lean forward, or if you want to lean more, round more in the back bend, go ahead. Make sure you breathe though. Lifting the back knee all the way up. A lot of engagement in our whole body. One more breath. Let go. See if you can come back gently, which is hard. Feet on the mat. Inhale, take your arms above your head. Exhale, fold forward. And make this forward fold as relaxing as you can. Maybe side out. What did your body say to that dancer pose? Go lower down on your knees so much that your hand actually can reach the floor. Step your right, step your left foot back, plank pose. Use your knees here if you like. Use your elbows if your wrists are not up for this. Now focusing on your shoulders. If you're sacking down, take a look at my shoulders. Here I'm not activating my shoulders. Here I'm lifting up. So you can try to sink a little bit low, lift up, activate the shoulders. Move the shoulders a little bit back towards the tailbone. And breathe. Take your knees down, child's pose, or if you have a lot of energy, you can use down dog. So listening for our bodies and what they communicate is sometimes hard. It's easier to listen to what other people are saying. So let's practice listening in and trusting what our bodies are saying. It might not be the same as our feelings, but our bodies. And of course, whenever God is speaking, I believe he never contradicts anything written in the Bible. Palms on the mat. Spread out your fingers again, pinky finger maybe to the outer edge of the mat. Lift up your knees, feet. Move them in the right position. So God never says, go ahead and steal or kill somebody or something like that. Of course not. It's always adjust or align God's voice with what you might know about the Bible. If you don't know the Bible that well, I'll invite you to take a look at it, because that's probably the best way to listen for God's voice ever. Take your left leg up towards the sky, and again bend the knee underneath the belly and step it to the top of the mat. Lift the back heel off, really lengthening through the back leg. Look to the front and let go of the mat. Crescent lunge. Bending to our left side, which means you take a hold of your right wrist. Again, pelvic floor here, or pelvis underneath yourself, and then pull your right wrist and lean over to left side. Gaze on the ground to help you balance. And make sure you stand low if you want to create heat in the front leg. Let go. Hands down on the mat. Step the back foot a little bit closer as we did before. Toes or feet still pointing in the long end of the mat. Bent. This time right leg. Move your hip back. Stretch the front leg for a really great calf and hamstring stretch here. Toes off the mat. The further you lean towards the front stretched leg there, the more you also might feel something in your lower back. Let go. Both feet aligned with each other at the top of the mat. Bend your knees gently and move into mountain pose. This time, before we do dances, let's our hands meet in prayer pose. In front of our chest. So maybe today God reminds you of a specific passage in the Bible. Maybe it pops into your head. Or maybe it's a song. A picture. Or something else. go. Open up the shoulder by moving your shoulder girdle back, pinky finger to the front. Take your right foot behind you, hold the arch yet again. And you can stay here or lean more forward. Try to stretch the leg that's keeping your balance. And as we did before, kick your foot into your hand. Lift the knee back, round the back. Breathe. This is a pose that should get you into your body, as it is quite hard. So remember to breathe. And let go. Moving in another direction, a forward fold. Remember to bend the knees. Maybe we start with the knees bended and then fold forward. Let your head hang, and maybe then you choose to stretch your legs ever so gently. If you're up for it, you can take a hold of your ankles and pull your head a little bit further down towards your knees or your shin. Let go of the legs and sit in chair pose. Engage your root lock. Spine is straight even though you're moving a little bit to the front. Try to lift your quads, the front thighs up a little bit, so engage the front a lot. The back is also involved to keep us balanced. And sit lower if you're up for it. Let go. Right leg moves back. And just let your left foot there move a little bit more out to the side so that you're able to have shoulders and hands on the inside of the foot. Lizard pose. The further distance you have between your knee and your foot there, the more you can lower down your hip, the more it might stretch. So just shorten the distance if this is too much. Use blocks for hands. Or if it is not too much, come down on 1 or 2 elbows. Just make sure that your ankle and knee is actually stacked above each other here on the front leg. And the whole sole of the foot is down in the mat. Stretching hip flexor and hamstring on the front left leg. Listening for God's voice is also sometimes listening to people. Lots of times in my life I have had mentors or clever people I have invited into my life to speak truth and grace, and it's been life-changing. So maybe if you don't have this kind of relationship with anybody, maybe you should go for that. Sometimes also having people pray for you. If you've not tried that ever, contact me, I'll pray for you. Or maybe go to a church who are into that. That's also such a wonderful way of letting other people help you listen to God. Move up on your hands, step the foot back on your knees, tabletop, stretch out, whatever feels good. And then right foot to the front. Fold the mat there for your knee. And as we did before, make sure this top knee and ankle are stacked above each other, and you have your hands and shoulders on the inside of the thigh. Move your hip down and a little bit to the front. And when your body relaxes and your breath is somewhat calm, then you might choose to go down on 1 or 2 elbows if you have the access here in your hip. Elongate your spine. One last thing about listening to God. Find the places that makes you the most peaceful. Maybe it's on the yoga mat once in a while. Maybe it's out in nature. Maybe it's in a church. And listen for God there. Take your time. I find it in my life that I am often way more in a hurry than God is when speaking to me. I'm like, God, tell me what to do. Answer me now. And sometimes, and often actually, it's just quiet. And that can be frustrating. But maybe there's a reason. Maybe the answer is not supposed to be found yet. At least that's how I interpreted it. Okay, let go of that stretch. Again, tabletop. And then we'll go to plow pose, which is the powerful forward folds on our backs. So if you have any neck issues or back issues, maybe just stay here. This is a perfect plow pose. And if you don't know plow pose, please take a look before you try to do anything. I will not have you move your neck when you're in plow pose. So make sure you don't do that, okay? To avoid injury in your neck. So take a look if you don't know the pose. Remove things in your hair that might be in the way. All right? So first of all, try to align your hip and your shoulders somewhat. Then you might bend your knees and just stay here. If you can, stretch your leg and maybe your feet reach the floor here behind you. Relax your shoulders, and this is where I want you to stay completely still with your neck. So go ahead, if you're seeing what I'm doing, close your eyes and move. You can absolutely let your hands reach towards your hip and your lower back, and just let your hands support your back. Relax your shoulders somewhat. If you want to go into shoulder stand for just a second, you know where that is. Go ahead and do that. If not, just stay here. Place your hand behind your hip, your lumbar spine. Bend your knees, and vertebrae by vertebrae, try to come down without bumping down on your back. Feet placed mat width distance. Let your knees in towards each other to support, and just relax for a moment. Move your feet a little bit closer bridge pose, or full wheel if you like. Your heels are not glued towards your buttocks here, but a little bit close. Move your pelvis a little bit up so you can roll your spine vertebrae by vertebrae up into a bridge pose. Your hands can either support your back or just stay down here on the mat. You can even walk your shoulder blades a little bit together towards each other. Fold your hands, that's more traditional bridge pose. Full wheel if you want that, that's a powerful back bend. You come out of this all the way down, fingers somewhat aligned with your ears and pointing towards your toes. Lift through the feet, maybe coming up on your head as the first place, and then lift through your arms up into your full wheel. Coming down again. Everybody, also people in bridge pose, vertebrae by vertebrae coming down. Hug your knees in towards your chest. That were some powerful stretches there. So hopefully our bodies were ready for it. Reversed pigeon pose, I would call it. If you just absolutely have to get your pigeon pose in a regular way, laying on the other way around, go ahead and do that. But if not, right leg, bend it, knee out to the side. Right hand here moves in between the little triangle window and pulling on your left leg in so that you get a stretch on your outer hip, glutes. In meditation, of course, we also tune into the voice of God. I would suggest that in Christian meditation, it's not so much about just quieting your mind. I'm saying just in the way that I know it's not easy, but the purpose with Christian meditation is not the complete silence. I would suggest the purpose with Christian meditation is to find God and let God speak to you. That relationship, loving relationship with God and you and me is developed in meditation. And sometimes that's through quietness and just silent companionship. Let go and switch side. Make sure this knee, now your left knee, is out to the side, as it will not stretch as much if you kind of move it in towards your armpit. So make sure it's out also when you pull your right leg in. So in what ways have you maybe felt God speak to you, if you think back through your life? If you're not familiar with the Bible, you probably wouldn't say that, but maybe. Still chew on that so that your feet reach the mat. A little bit more distance in between your hip and your feet, and then move your legs to the side, windshield, where you actually just leave your legs there, hands on the floor. So have you ever felt the presence of God, maybe, if you're not that religious, in the nature or in another setting? Maybe on the yoga mat. I've met several people who have said they have met God on the yoga mat, have become a believer of Christ while doing yoga. I think that's awesome. Move your legs slowly to the other side. In my life, God has spoken through all different kinds of methods. So it's not just one channel He's speaking through. And sometimes, maybe even more than half, it's not something I can understand. It's more a sensation or a feeling of peace or just knowing that I know. So I just want to let you know that sometimes God speaks to us just through a piece or something else that is just a bodily sense. And it kind of surpasses the understanding of the brain. So don't be frustrated if you don't understand what God is saying. Maybe just say, here I am, God. Whatever or whoever you are, here I am. Speak to me. So let's do that, and as we rest on the mat today, if you feel like you get cold, maybe take a blanket, a pillow underneath your head if that's more comfortable. Arms out to the side and maybe even above your head. Feet again a little bit out to the side so you open up your hip joints. 3 minutes, I'll invite you to rest here in quietness. But begin with a prayer. Even though you're not really sure that you can listen to God or that God will speak to you, maybe just say, God, here I am. Here I am. If you're there, I'm here. I am here. So God, please speak to us if there's anything you want to remind us about. Speak in our body, our mind, feelings, our soul. Three minutes of quiet time. quiet time is up. Maybe you inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. Please stay on the mat if you need that. If you're ready, wriggle toes and fingers, wrist and ankles, get some movements in your body. Roll on to one side. Try to do this slowly. And from here, into a seated pose. I don't know if you felt like God spoke to you or reminded you about some things through this class. I hope. If not, don't worry. Maybe it will happen later. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow. But I truly believe that God is speaking a lot. And if you want to get to know God better, I invite you to look in the Bible. Maybe read the book of John as the first part that's in the New Testament. And just dive into that. Talk with people who have more experience with the Christian faith. Ask them how they do things. Or connect with us here in CrossYoga. That would be lovely as well. Thank you so much. I pray, actually for everybody who sees these videos, and I pray that God will speak to you in whatever way you need to be spoken to and whatever you need to hear, through whatever channel you need to be spoken to. Thank you, and thank you for helping me share these videos and this channel. Bye.